But we also have one of the big problems, which is a housing crisis in Hamilton and other municipalities as well. And however you want to define it, Hamilton, yes, is facing a housing shortage and rising rents. What
Mhm.
do you believe are the real causes? You can go in depth, you can go very just overview scope of it.
Sure. Uh, as you said, it's not a Hamilton specific issue. It's across Ontario. It's across Canada. It's across much of the Western Hemisphere. We've seen the cost of living, particularly related to housing, increase significantly. I think so often the job of a counselor is to respond to a problem with the best solutions possible. So some of the solutions that I'm seeing at City Hall to address the housing crisis, I don't believe are going to have that actual effect. So let's talk about quickly the vacant unit tax. So that tax is a new tax they've introduced with the stated goal of returning homes back to the market. I personally don't believe there's any evidence to actually prove that that vacant unit tax returns homes back to the market. If the councillors want to come out and say, this actually is just a tax to punish people for how they decide to use their own property, that's fair enough. But I don't believe that we're being perfectly clear because it does not, there's no evidence that it returns homes to the market. And we've seen the example of Ottawa often used. But really, when you look at their data, the year over year change is almost zero. What I think we can do to get Hamilton back on track is our permitting process. So, Daniel, as you probably know, Hamilton has one of the slowest permitting offices in Canada and certainly in Ontario. So we need to make major structural changes there to streamline our processes. So when builders do want to build, they can get those permits as quickly as possible. And just a couple of weeks there, just this week rather, there's an article in the Spectator about the church across from the TD Coliseum. They had worked on, they had tried to redevelop that location for years. It got caught up in city hall bureaucracy. And since that time, the financial world has changed and the world of development has changed. And unfortunately, that's scuttled that project. But that's the perfect example of where we could have had housing built if we were quicker on that permitting process, and ensuring we actually, take steps to improve that. So when I look at Hamilton, when I look at what we can do, that's probably one of our biggest opportunities is streamlining the process, making sure that when people have good plans and they get into us, we turn that around as quick as possible.
Andrew, which development site was that specifically you mentioned?
That was at the Philpott Church. So that's right on York Street across from TD Coliseum. So they had planned on redeveloping it, got
Oh,
stuck in,
yes.
yeah, got stuck
Yes.
in development. It's going to never use the site for a parking lot, which honestly it's well needed for TD Coliseum. And it's exciting in terms of TD Coliseum. We're seeing lots of people downtown and they will have somewhere to park, but we could have had housing there. And that's just an example of where we got caught up in the paperwork. We could have turned that around quicker.
Yes, and Core Urban doing the Copley building
Yes.
opposite the farmers market. So they're doing some good works there.
Mhm.
And yes, so going back as you mentioned the development, I read Ontario Home Builders Association. Hamilton takes about 33 point something months, just up to 33 point something months to get approval, whereas in Halifax it's only 9 point something months
Yes.
in terms of getting approval, the timeline. So that really says we do have a lot of inefficiencies, in the approval for developments, and that's not good for the real estate developers. So you did mention some of the things to encourage more housing supply. Recently, you probably saw the Carney and Ford announcement for um, uh, cutting 50% of no, cutting the development charges, right? So
Of course. Yep.
8.8 billion, right, for 3 years, and then removing the HST on new homes up to 1 million to help with housing supply. What policies would you support to increase housing construction in
So
Hamilton or generally?